All right, map. We are going to Kakariko Village. Is this Kakariko Village? Damn, that shit far as fuck. Okay, so it's in that direction. So, what to do? What's the fastest way to get there? I see two towers I see two towers going forward. There's one tower off to the left here, and there's another tower off to my right. But then there's also another tower over here. I mean, I probably should, is that a shrine? Okay, so there's a shrine over there. There's a tower there. I guess on my way to Imba, I should probably hit all the shrines that I could, because I definitely want to increase my health. I definitely want to increase my health or my stamina. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and do that. All right. I guess we're gonna go ahead in the direction of that shrine. Now, since it takes four spirit orbs, if it takes 4 spirit orbs to either get an upgrade to your to your health or your stamina, I'm guessing there must be many shrines located throughout the entire game. I'm guessing. I wonder how many shrines there are in total, and will I have to choose? I guess. Will I have to choose what I want? Like, can I even get a lot of stamina? Can I get a lot of health? You know. That's new enemy type. I don't think I fought the enemy before. Yeah. I don't know if it's just me, but I low-key kind of wish that. Oh, there's a horse. Okay, they definitely want to take a mental note of that, because okay, I see there's a shrine nearby. Yeah. Okay. Take note of the fact that there's a horse nearby, because I will definitely want to get one when I come back from the shrine, so I can head on to the tower. But as I was saying, Breath of the Wild, nice first time. Yeah, it's my first time playing Breath of the Wild. Yeah. It's first time giving it the old college try. How you doing, my friend? Thank you for stopping by. Yeah. So, as I was saying, I wonder, is there really enough shrines for me to be able to get a lot of health and a lot of stamina? Because I see stamina is definitely a valuable resource. I definitely probably want to. That's what's up. You're gonna love it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm definitely enjoying it so far. Kyle Makai Stride. Okay, I'm definitely enjoying it so far. I guess since you're here, I might as well ask. Have you played? I know you probably played Breath of the Wild, but have you played Tears of the Kingdom yet? And if so, what's your opinion of that? I guess without getting too spoiler heavy. And what are your other favorite Zelda games, by the way, if any? All right, I wonder what we're gonna need for this shrine. I mean, I think, do we have all the runes that we would need? That is a good question. I mean, do we have all the runes? Is there more runes than this? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But those are doors, so we're definitely gonna use the magnesis. Let's put that down. Okay. No. Ah. Okay. All right. Ocarina is a heavy hitter when it comes to Zelda. Also, Wind Waker. Now, Wind Waker, I have played. I have played Legends of the Wind Waker. Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed that. Oh, wait, no. Where's my shield? All right. Can I parry this too? I got a pot lid. I'm gonna parry it on a pot lid. No, I didn't do it. Got him. GG's. All right. I am definitely gonna want to get better at definitely want to. Okay, I see you can use magnesis or you could use bombs. So I think I'm already on magnesis, so I'm gonna actually no, I'm gonna switch to bombs too. Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah. Just don't blow up all of them. Yeah, I guess. All right. What is this door even here for? I mean, I guess it would have been quicker to just use magnesis, I guess. But I just had to know. Traveler's bow. That's cool. My inventory is full. Gosh, I'm already full of bows. Some bullshit. Traveler's Bow is 5. Boko Bow is 4. Let's just get rid of one of the Boko bows. Drop it. I mean, stronger bows is always better, right? Tears of the Kingdom is also fantastic, but it makes more sense if you play this first. Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to. I'm not gonna lie, all right? It's so funny. I was on TikTok and I actually seen this crazy ass Zelda edit that somebody made. I think with a Tyler Creator song, and I was like, damn, I really need to go back. And they were using Tears of the Kingdom. And obviously a bunch of stuff I don't understand because I did not. Thank you for the like, by the way. There was a lot of stuff that happened in the edit that I obviously didn't understand because I didn't play Tears of the Kingdom. But like just seeing it synced up with the music, I was like, damn, this game is a little hype. I might have to get it. Maybe the story beats will mean so much more to me when I finally play it. So I was like, let me go back and play Breath of the Wild first before I play Tears of the Kingdom so I can really understand and really get into all the emotion and all of the story beats. I was like, let me give it a shot. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Just kind of just taking it slow, taking it all in as I go. And maybe I'll learn to appreciate Breath of the Wild, even though it may not be like the traditional Zelda games like I've used to, but maybe I'll learn to appreciate it more, just for what it is. It's just a different style game. All right, and maybe we'll learn to parry better. Oh, this is a different one. Wait. They didn't teach me about this. They didn't teach me about this in Guardian School. Wait. Is he gonna shoot? He's not good. He's not shooting. How do I beat this kind of Guardian? Okay. Okay. Twilight Prince is also cool. Okay, that's what's up. Okay, so they can be damaged by bombs. But they not okay. Do I have to hit it? I may have to hit it. Wait, maybe dodge and stab. Okay, all right. No! Oh gosh. My sword barely does any damage. All right. Did that one even hit it? I don't even think that bomb even hit it. Oh gosh. Wait, throw it. Oh my lord. Okay, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm doing damage to it, but. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess it was bound to happen at some point, but I guess I gotta get used to, like, dodging and stabbing and all that good stuff. Plus, I gotta get used to this controller. It is different, but I still gotta get used to it. All right, so I think it's only a Traveler's Bow in there. So if it's still in there again, I'm probably just gonna skip it. Playing on Switch? I am playing on Switch. Yeah, I was thinking about emulating it, but I was still in the process of setting it up to really get the optimal, like, to have the optimal mods, optimal what's the name? Now, I'm someone that low-key kind of thinks out of the box. I don't think I have enough health for this, but I'm pretty sure I've seen somebody bomb themselves to get higher. Could I just do that to skip this shrine? Because I don't think I want to deal with all of this. I mean, high key, but I won't do it though. I'll play it normally for right now. Let's see. How am I supposed to do this though? Like I see these up here. Okay. Can you see me? Okay, you could. Oh, wait, that didn't kill it? Ah, shit. Oh, wait, oh, wait, you can shoot. Okay. Oh fuck. Okay. Damn. Okay. So the stabby one, the stabby and dodge one can shoot. Okay. So I probably just got to learn the timing. But it sucks that it doesn't get killed in one shot though, like the smaller one. But I know this is something I'm gonna have to deal with as I get to some of the other guardians that are probably bigger. Oh gosh. Oh wait, I always have bombs here. No. All right. All right, so I know I go here, open up this door. I mean, this is the traveler's boat. There's nothing in here. Did it just close on me? All right, so realistically, where? Oh, you know what? Maybe I need to kill the guardians to actually get some like ladder to spawn or something. Oh boy. Yo. Oh, I okay. All right, I actually kind of wanna get you to shoot me. Okay, that was too early. That was also too early. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Okay. Look at it this way. We get the early trash, me being trash, out the way, so that I get better over time. You know. You could say I'm limit testing, and I'm limit testing in a way. Actually, wait, no. Don't you have to have you can only do the ice shit by water, right? You can only do ice stuff by water, right? Yeah, you cannot. Yeah, you can't if you don't have water. All right. Hey, it's trial and error, yeah. Okay, let me save it here because I'm tired of having to start all. Tired of having to start all over every time I die. I mean, that just feels bad. Oh shit. Oh shit. Ah! Wait! I wasn't ready to encounter you just yet. All right. Here we go. One. All right, come on. Okay. Two. Okay, that was too slow. Okay, come on. Two. Okay, all right. Three. Okay. We 3 for 3 right now, y'all. 4. All right, fuck you. All right, there we go. Ancient gear. Okay. All right, so we killed it. Oh wait, it was more. Ancient screw. Oh, is this a weapon? Ooh, guardian spear. Ooh. Okay, what? Hey, let's go. Yeah, right. We finally got it. All right. So I think this one's on the verge of breaking anyway. So let's just get rid of that. Okay, so we did that. I don't know if I'm blind, right? You know what? Don't even say anything. Let me try to think my way out of this for a second. Okay, I have the remote bomb, magnesis, stasis, and cryonis. I know stasis is definitely good to use on something that is like stationary or moving, but that's not gonna help me here. Magnesis, there's nothing metal for me to move across these gaps that I can see anyways, to get across. Okay, so that leaves, I mean, and there's no water, so use psionis. So what the fuck am I supposed to do here? I mean, of course, the ending is right there. Can I jump these gaps? Oh, no, I can't. No, I can't. So what the hell am I supposed to do? I killed the other small guardian. And like I said, there's nothing in here. I mean, I could probably try practicing like blowing myself up with bombs, perhaps. To just see if I can get across. You know what? Let me see how that would go. Let me save it right here, just so if I can do something stupid that Guardian doesn't come back. All right. So let me switch to remote bomb square. All right, and let's grab one. Let's drop it. Drop it. All right. So if I blow it up, can I blow myself backwards onto that other platform? Will I die though? I mean, I don't have that much health. So let's see. Do I need to jump with? Oh, I could jump with it. Okay. I guess let's try that. Okay, so my pilot just broke. That's fantastic. Should I have blown myself up without holding it? But I'm pretty sure I would have died if I did that. I mean, that's why I saved it, right? All right, let's just try this again. Drop it. All right. I guess. Okay. That wasn't the move, but I mean, kind of a little bit. I feel like that could work. All right, so you know, let me open up this. Wait, why did it close back? What? Oh no, it's open. Why am I crouching? This is where I got the traveler's bow. Am I supposed to? Can I climb this? No, of course not. Am I supposed to? Maybe. Hold up. Oh shit! Oh, I see. Okay. Fuck. All right. Oh, Link, please. How do I fix the camera? Okay. Put that down. Oh. Oh, okay. All right. I'm glad we figured this out. I see these shrines. You really got to use your brain. I see. All right. So, let me go up here. No, that was not. Well, I mean, I could walk back up it. I definitely kind of like I definitely kind of like my bomb idea of blowing myself up if I knew how to do it right. I've seen speedrunners do it. I know you could do it. I just don't know how to do it. I would have definitely been able to finish this much faster, but I guess, you know, it's my first time, so I should just take it slow. All right, so these are bomb blocks, right? So I can blow these up. Use the bomb box square. These are not bomb blocks. Okay, so let's go back to magnesis and let's save it. Oh, you can move it. Oh, okay. I mean, I probably am gonna. Oh wait. Can. You know, I'm gonna push it, and I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna open up this chest. Opal. What is that used for? What the hell are opals used for, bro? All right. I know I'm a little far away from you, but can I reach it from here? I can. All right, so pull it over here. All right. Then I'm gonna grab it again. Come on. A little bit. All right. Come on. All right. There we go. And the shrine is done. All right. Thank you for everybody who believed in me. I'm so glad we finally got through that. All right. It's lit. Okay. Your resourcefulness and overcomingness, you know, yep. We got a spirit orb, and that only took longer than it should have, but it's okay. It's all right. All right, we got full health though. That's great. All right, so there's a tower also in that same direction. I think I said I was gonna hop on a horse, so you know. Hey, thank you very much for the good job. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna hop on a horse and we're gonna head to that second tower because we are still heading to Kakariko Village. I definitely want to make sure that we do that. Yo, thank you for the follow, my friend. Ludius, thank you very much for the follow, my friend. Welcome to the Odachi clan. We love big swords here. Pause. All right. This cook is cooking down there. All the horses are gone. Oh no, that's not a horse. Oh no, there's a horse right there. Oh, this is a stable. Okay, all right. We learned a new place. Oh, okay. That my level up soundbite was just really late there. Okay, sure. Yo, that bish gummy. Thank you for the follow, my friend. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Odachi clan. All right, let's talk to this person.
Yeah.
You a nomad? Suppose you already seen the horses around this prairie then. I grew up taming horses around these parts. I'm confident there's not a rider in Hyrule better than me. And I got just the way to prove it. A little game to test which fella's better in the saddle. One I almost never lose. What do you think? You got the grit to step up and challenge the master? How do we play? No, thank you. It's an obstacle course, but on horseback. There are 10 obstacles to navigate. Best time wins. If you're not an ace in the saddle when the game starts, I guarantee you'll be one by the time it's through. Well, I do need to learn how to ride horses, right? I did ride one in the last stream, but you know, I could definitely learn. Always better. I could always get better. The difficult part about this is that you can't just recklessly ride as fast as you can. In order to clear the obstacles, you have to control your horse very well. If you can beat my personal time, I'll give you some mighty fine horse gear. Ooh. How about it? You think you got what it takes? As long as it doesn't cost me rupees, because I don't think I have any rupees yet. Sure, fuck it, let's do it. Well, shoot, you can't ride a horse without a horse to ride. Go mount up and then come back to me when you're serious. All right, fuck you then, right down. Don't do it like that. Who is this?
Yeah.
Hello there, traveler. Welcome to our stable. Will you stay a while? You'll stay a while, won't you? Hana. If you have a horse, we'll help you help you change his gear or his main style. We're always happy to help you. We're happy to meet new horses, so stop on by. Okay. All right. I'm sure there's a method to the madness when it comes to choosing horses and what they look like. Goron. I'm sure there's a method to the madness, so I don't know which one to choose. I'm just gonna choose one, of course. Wait. Where are the horses that I could choose? Oh, maybe I talked to somebody right here.
Hey.
Welcome to my stable. We deal in all things horse related. We also double as an inn. Huh? I haven't seen your face before. Do you know about the stable system? I don't. Well, allow me to explain. You can board your horse companions with us and then summon them as you please from our network of stables. Oh, they got a franchise. They got a horse franchise. Okay. You may come across wild horses during your travels. If you catch one and ride it here to register it, it'll become your horse companion. Okay. This game is my favorite. I've played it since 2017. Oh, okay. Well, I'm looking forward to feeling the same as you by the time I finish it in 2025. Let's see. Do you know how to catch a wild horse? I mean, I low key do, because I did catch one, and I do.
Yeah.
Welcome to our stable. If you come with a wild horse, you can register it here, or you want to stay with the rest, you can please cut the counter side. What'll it be? I don't have a horse to register, so I'll just sit by. Okay, but I understand that there's an inn inside, but do I have to wait till daytime, perhaps? when the horses are out and then try to ride? Because they're in for the day. Oh no, I could take one. Oh, that's a carrot. Never mind. Can I? No, I can't. Okay, maybe I have to sleep in for the night, and then I can go. I guess. Who is this?
Yeah.
Beetle. All right. He looks like. He kind of reminds me of like Rock Lee and Guy Sensei from Naruto. Hey, I don't believe I made your acquaintance. The name's Beetle. You can call me, actually, let's just stick with Beetle. What's his actual name? But even if you forget my face, you can remember me by my beetle-shaped backpack. Oh, I guess it is. Huh. I didn't even notice the horns. I just thought that backpack was big as fuck. It probably got a strong-ass back. Despite these dangerous times, you'll find me traveling all over Hyrule to fulfill your shopping needs. I stock many special bugs, must-have items for travelers, and I also charge a fair price, or my name is not Beetle. I also buy all sorts of things. If you're particular, oh, gemstones. Oh, this is who I sell my opals and shit to. How about I help you today? Let's see what you got. Look what I got.
Oh.
What would you like to sell? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right, so let's just sell some rupees and shit. How much the opals go for? They probably go for like a lot. No, they actually don't. They don't. Okay. they actually don't go for a lot at all. Okay, so, well, I never, I guess. I guess rubies are the thing to find, I guess. I mean, I might as well sell them. I don't think I could do anything with them, as far as I know. No, actually, on second thought, let me sell both of them at the same time. All right, all of them.
Wow.
Yes. All right. Well, at least I have money. I wonder. I wonder if he was introduced here, or if Beetle was introduced there. So that if you were trying to use an inn for the first time, you didn't have any rupees, you could go there and sell to get rupees, and then you could go sleep. I mean, that makes the most sense to me. All right. All right, let me use the inn so it'll be daytime, and then I can use a horse to finally get the hell out of here. After I get the horse gear, of course.
Hey.
Welcome to our stable. Yes. Let's wait. Wait. Who they say I talked to about the inn?
Ah.
Wait. Oh, this is the counter in here. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, welcome. Will you be staying with us? A regular bed will cost you 20 rupees. A soft bed will cost. What's the difference?
Oh.
The soft bed is special. We're proud to offer here at the stable. It costs more than a regular bed, but you'll wake up feeling more energized. Will you be staying with us? Am I getting scammed? So if I sleep in a regular non-soft bed, I'm assuming like when you go to sleep it'll refill all your health, but will a soft bed refill my health and give me extra? Like I don't like what is it gonna give me? I'm sleeping in a regular ass bed. I'm already full health. Let's sleep until noon, I guess.
Ah.
Maybe the horses will be out. Let me turn on the lights.
Ah.
All right. Excuse me. I hope you enjoyed your stay. Have a good day. All right. So now we're out. Let's grab a horse. The horses have to be out in the pasture, right? No, they're not. What? I saw horses out here, bro. Oh no, there they are. Oh shit. I'm definitely blind. Okay. All right, here we go. I hope y'all day is going very well, by the way. My day is going pretty chill, but I hope y'all day is going well. Wait, don't leave me. I'm trying to mount you. Pause. All right. I probably gotta approach them like slow. They're running so far away. How do I crouch again? Oh, there we go. All right. So let's take it slow. And then I mean, I don't probably have. I wonder, is there like some sort of radius that if I cross that radius, while walking, all of the horses will start running away? I'm not sure, but I'm definitely eager to find out for sure. You know, just give me 1 second, Joe. I'll be right with you. 1 second. All right. Excuse me. Let us continue. Okay. All right. Here we go. I need to catch a horse. So I'm going to come around. Let me save it so I can retry from here if I need to. All right. I'm going to come around and I'm going to catch that motherfucking horse. All right. Slowly. Slowly. No! Don't run! No! Don't run away from me! All right, motherfuckers. We tried to do this the easy way. We tried to do it the Hitman stealth while, and now we're doing it my way. All right, fuck it. Let me mount you! Come here, you bitch! All right. No! No! All right. So I definitely gotta make sure I soothe them. All right, come on, come here, bro. Come on, bro. Oh, okay. Wait, no. No, come on. Oh, I need. Okay. Note to self: I need to have my stamina up to soothe them. Oh my gosh, or else I'm gonna get tired. Oh my gosh. Bro, please. I'm screaming, crying, and throwing up. Please, bro. No, stop running away, bro. Oh my gosh. And now there's enemies out here with horses. I can probably try to steal the horses though. All right. What the f— Oh my god. Not them running into me and killing me. Golly. All right. So note to self, I don't have enough stamina to tame a horse. So I guess I just got lucky the first time. Okay. Are you winning, son? I don't think so, my friend. I don't think so. I think I just got my ass whooped. But I have bombs. I have bombs though. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead and try to run up on me. Go ahead and try to run up on me, motherfucker. Boom! Let me get on you. Wait. No! Come on. Go to the bomb. Oh my gosh. Boom! Wait. Wait, are you not coming back? Okay. All right. Oh, we actually got a horse. We got a horse, y'all. I'll take that as a no. Is this your first Breath of the Wild playthrough? This is definitely my first Breath of the Wild playthrough. Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I'm enjoying it. No, this is my first time. I've only ever done the Great Plateau, so I never got this far. So I'm kind of just taking in the game as it comes on, as we head out to Kakariko Village. All right, so let me talk to that guy to get this horse armor so we can finally. Damn, bro, these horses kind of rough to control, but I guess that's why I need the training, right? All right, bro. Faster? Are you talking to me? Wait, no. Whoa. Okay. All right. I think the horse is stuck, bro.
Hi.
Okay. All right. So the pattern of the horses determine how easy they are to tame. If they have a pattern like this one you're on now, you don't need stamina. If they are one solid color, they take a lot. Okay, but I'm guessing, right? I'm guessing if they have one solid color though, they're better in every way. Yeah, I figured as much. Okay, so note to self, I need stamina. Okay, all right, bro. Let's go ahead and do this. Oh, you can stop. Okay. All right. No, wait. How can I talk? Okay. No, bro. Oh, Z, L, and A. Okay.
Oh.
Oh, I need to be back. Come to unseat the champion. Let's do it. All right. That horse you're riding isn't properly registered yet. Go. Okay. I gotta take care of my horse paperwork. Man, what the? All right, bro. All right, bro.
Hey.
Hey, welcome to our stable. If you catch a wild horse, you can register it. Now, what can I do for you? Let's register a horse. Gotcha. New horse. Okay, yes, 2 stars, everything, 10, gentle temperament, max bond. Hey, let's go. It loves me. All right, not a problem. We can charge a registration fee. Okay. It also gets you a locally made saddle and bridle. That's fees. All right, that's actually pretty fair. 20 rupees ain't too crazy. Please enter a name for the horse. What should I name the horse, y'all? We got 9 characters. What should I name the horse? If anything. I wonder. You know how Link has the horse Epona. Is Epona in this game? Let me think. Okay, all right. Let me see what you got for me, Val. Valstrakuga. It's a cool name, by the way. I appreciate you for being here. Epona is unlocked with an amiibo. Well, I don't have an amiibo, but I'm pretty sure I could definitely rig up something like with like an NFT card or something like that. Not NFT. What the fuck are they called? NFC card, I think. I think I'm pretty sure I could rig something up. Does Epona have the best stats in the game for the horses? By any chance, if you do have an amiibo, or is it just like, you know, it's like okay. Crap, I'm thinking too hard about a horse name. Steve. All right, fuck it. We're naming the horse Steve. All right, fuck it. Thank you for the name. All right, we'll go with Steve. Sure. All right, are you sure you want to name this horse Steve? Yes. All right, registration is complete. All right, we'll take the let's take the horse.
Ah.
All right. Oh, and by the way, if you get separated from your horse, oh, that's why you can whistle. Okay. Yeah, Epona was the best stats. I don't have the amiibo though. Yeah. I don't either, and I probably won't buy it. But your horse isn't magic. If it can't hear you if you're too far away, so do keep that in mind. All right, let's go. Where's bro at? Oh, okay, he's sitting down. All right.
Oh.
I need to be back. Ready? Let's do it. Great. There's just a little matter of entry fee. Oh, you motherfucker. Oh, you motherfucker. All right. Good luck. Okay. Here goes. This is the great Aprilsamurai horse obstacle course. Okay. Hunker down and listen up. Ride your horse around a grassy field, jumping around the obstacles. Okay. All right. I just checked. It's not the best. It has 4 stars for everything, but the max is 5, but no horse can have 5-star everything. Also, good luck. Thanks. Don't dismount the horse or you're out of the running. Not that needs telling. Okay. The difficult part about this fact is you can't just recklessly ride as fast as you can. Right. In order to clear the obstacles of the path, you have to be able to control the horse well. That makes sense. If you can beat my personal best time, I'll give you the mighty horse gear. Why don't you aim for 1 minute and 30 seconds first? Okay. I'll probably use this first time to kind of get more used to the horse and everything. Because how the fuck do I jump with the horse? Or does the horse auto jump? My best time is 1 minute 15. Okay. How do is the horse gonna jump? Oh, it will. Okay. Okay. Wow, these horses jump pretty. Wait. How many do I need to hit? Oh gosh. The horse auto jumps if you're moving towards something. Okay. Oh my gosh. Did I go jump to that one already, or did I miss? I honestly don't remember. All right. Wow, these horses have like really, really loose turning. Not loose. It's like, I think you need all of them. Okay, all right, I'll probably have to get that one then. No! Ah! Okay, you know, I gotta come back around. Holy shit! Okay. I am starting to understand a little bit better though. Oh. All right, so his best time is 1:15. Golly, that motherfucker's the GOAT. All right, so I obviously missed one. All right, so which one did I miss? Oh, they go up when you they go up when you do it. All right, so where the fuck is the one that I missed? It takes to get a bit used to the horses. Yeah, I can see that. Where the fuck is the one that I missed? Oh, I see it. Okay, can I start over? I mean, I'll finish and then I'll do it again. Okay, so do I go back after? Where is it? Oh, he's right there. Okay. Easy ways to reset it, just get off the horse. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Wait. Ah! Wait. Bro! Something eating you? I'm dropping out. Okay. Once you put it at your feet, you're locked in, so be sure. Okay, all right. So, okay. I see. You can't finish the raid on a foot, you clodhopper. Hey, that sounds like a slur, bro. All right. Something eating you. You need a full adjustment. You need a full attitude adjustment to beat me. Want to try again? Let's do it. Is another 20 rupees? Fuck. Okay. Well, I got more than enough. But damn, it's kind of steep. All right. This time at least we're at least gonna do the 1 minute 30. I feel. All right. No need. All right, here we go. It's all about speed. Yeah. I completely understand. All right. All right. Ah! All right. No, what? Bro, what? Okay. All right, turn around, please, my lord. I was doing so well, and I just fumbled it. Hold up. I feel like I was definitely getting close, at least, to put a 130. I don't know if I'm gonna get that shit now. Oh my gosh. All right. Oh my gosh. I think there's 10 I need to jump over. Okay. All right. Fuck it. We're gonna start over one more time. We're gonna do it one more time. We'll do it one more time. Horse moment. They can be annoying to control. I see. All right. Here's another 20 rupees for you, my friend. All right. This is fun though. This is fun, I will say. All right, let's go.
Oh.
Yes. I wonder, does the horse follow the camera, or is it just me turning? What the, bro? What? All right. It's fine. We're gonna hit a quick loop. Hit a quick loop and come back around. Well, that shrine looks beautiful at night. Golly. All right. Ah. Come on, bro. You have to turn the horse. It's not tied to the camera. It's so you can get those the whole cinematic shots. I see. All right. Okay. We were so close. Okay, so I guess I just gotta be mindful of sometimes my angle. It was definitely my angle. When I went up that little incline, it was definitely my angle right there. Cause I got damn near right by the bar, and then the fucking horse stopped. So, my fault. This one seems as hard as I remember. I mean, we definitely gonna get it. We definitely gonna get it for sure. All right. And I got this fucking dinky ass music. It's pissing me off. Gotta bring this one in tight. Gotta bring it in tight. Come on. All right. Come on, we got another tight one for you. Come on. Come on, we got this. Yeah, good job, buddy. Good job. All right, come on, let's bring it in. All right, come on, just two more. All right, one more. Come on, bring it in. Come on. Oh, come on, it's a little more. Let's go. No, come on, jump over it. No. Oh boy, bro. You did one fucking job. All right. Wait, do I have to meet back? Do I have to meet back to him? Wait, what? Is there one more I missed? Oh no, I do. Okay. You don't appreciate the dinky whimsical music? No, I don't. I fucking hate it. All right. Okay, they gave me a swift carrot. Increase my movement speed. I think you might need a faster horse. No. I definitely feel like I could clear it with this horse. I lost a lot of time having to make that last U-turn, and then I didn't realize that I had to go back into the stable at the end. But now that I know that, what does that guy say? I understand it now. I'm gonna try one more time. I think that we can do it. I think we can do it with this horse. I believe in Steve. Hashtag believe in Steve. I believe in him. Steve will take me to the promised land. Also, after the 10th one, you can just re-enter. Hold on, I'll read that in just a second. Hold on. All right, come around. All right, I was looking a little dicey, but all right, I'm glad we were able to do that. All right. Oh, I mean that one was a little dicey, but I mean it's fine. All right, so let's get this one, and then all right. Alrighty, come on. We got three more. We got three more. I realized I definitely lost a lot of time when I did what's name. It's gonna be a little tight. No! All right. Okay, all right. For like 4 seconds and some change off. We're getting better.
Ah.
Oh, okay. Do I get anything? Do I get anything special for beating his time? I know he gave me the horse gear, but do I get anything like special for beating his time? Like that? That would be, I guess, super duper useful. Because if not, I'm gonna keep on my journey and I'll come back around. Excuse me, I'll come back around to do this later, if that's the case. After the 10th one, you can just re-enter through the closer entrance. That's it? Okay, all right. We are going towards the next tower. Where is that? That was the shrine. Where the fuck is the next? Oh, it's right there. Okay. Let me get out of here because these whatever Bach, purely aesthetic. Okay. All right. Purely aesthetic is crazy. Zelda, why? Yo, what's what is up, bro? I'm sorry. I have a bit of a speech impediment. But yo, what is up? How's it going, my friend? All right, so we didn't get, okay. I was about to say we didn't get killed, but we actually might die. So what? I got sniped, bro. I got sniped. Okay. All right, I'm doing well though. Just playing some Breath of the Wild. Dumb question. Are you on Switch 1 or 2? I am on Switch 1, and I'm playing with my PlayStation 5 controller, by the way. I am on Switch 1. I'm on the actual physical Switch 1. I'm not emulating it. Not this time. I unfortunately cannot afford a Switch 2 just yet. Do you have a Switch 2? Cause if I was playing on Switch 2, bro, stop playing PlayStation. What do you mean, bro? Yo, I'm play guitar, man. Oh. I mean, you talking about in the back? I'm learning how to play guitar. I mostly play bass, but even now I'm still learning. That's a volcano. That is not the shrine. No, is it? Oh my, fire! What the fuck? Oh gosh. Can I ride a zombie horse? Okay, I have a Switch 2. I got it at launch because I was waiting for one since my Switch Lite got some drift. Damn, that's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, in the future, I definitely would love to get a Switch 2 for sure. Nice, bro. Take care. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, man. Thank you. I definitely would like to get a Switch 2 in the future. What the fuck is that? Oh, that's one of those bad enemies. Okay, get away from me. Okay. What is hitting me, bro? Oh my gosh. please don't put me back at the. Please don't put me back on the horse. Please don't put me back on the horse. That's all I ask. Please, let me be further away than where I was. I'm back on the fucking horse. Okay. Oh. I just brought my girlfriend to Switch 2 for our 2-year anniversary. Oh, I'm so happy for y'all. Congratulations. Oh, I hope she enjoys it. Have you had a chance to play Donkey Kong Bonanza yet? What do you think? You're heading to a very dangerous area? Oh, is that what it is? All right. I see. I just want to get that tower. What the hell is that? Oh my gosh. Bonanza was fantastic. Oh, okay. Hey, let me do some zigzagging so they don't get me. Oh, what the hell? What? I have food, right? I mean, this is for cold resistance, but I got the cold resistance shirt on, so I think I might be alright. Bonanza was fantastic. No, I definitely would love to play it sometime. It looks really good. And then to have the Super Mario Odyssey team on it, that's just icing on the cake. If you have full health, unless it's a super powered, if you have full health, unless it's a super power attack, you won't get one shot. Okay, great. Oh, it's a person here. She kind of bad though. Mishi. For some reason, I always seem to attract monsters. Ayo. The monsters that attacked me near the Highland stable were so scary. I still see them in my dreams sometimes. That's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. All right. This looks like a lot to climb. Oh wait, no, I can just run along the side here. There's something following me that I'm not gonna turn around because this is not a horror movie. I am not gonna turn around and look at it. I'm just gonna keep running. I'm gonna keep running. I've never actually played Odyssey, but I heard it's really good. I got a free Switch. It also got a free Switch 2 upgrade. Yeah, no, Odyssey is fantastic. I think personally, and it's just me, I know a lot of people really like the older, you know, Super Mario 64, Super Mario Galaxy stuff. Is a shrine nearby? It is? Where? I know people really like that style of like going into a level and like going into a level, dealing with that star, and then getting kicked out the level. I've never really been a fan of that personally, even though I have played those games. I've never really been a fan of that. I like that Odyssey has all of the stars available that you can go, and you have to sometimes do platform challenges and stuff like that to get them. I just personally like that. It's just quicker. It's faster in my opinion. Because those other games are just bloated to high fucking hell, especially like the Mario Galaxy games. They're good, but like they're just bloated as hell, going back and forth and shit. Like I'm like, it's insane. Like I think nowadays Super Mario Odyssey could probably be beat like less than like 50 minutes, I think. And like speed runs of, I think any percent speed runs of Mario Galaxy are probably like an hour some change or two. I'm like, damn, this shit long as hell. Or maybe 2 hours or something. I don't remember. This water looks like it's too fast. Will I die? Will I die if I do this? Where's the tower at, by the way? I feel like I'm in fucking Mario Galaxy. I'm and Bonanza, you could beat the game without any bananas. Bananas? Oh, that's actually crazy. Am I gonna make it? Come on, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Come on. All right. Whew. I almost died. It says there's a shrine nearby, but like, where is it though? Is that a rock monster? Bro, what? Stone talus? Fuck no. I'm not trying to fight that. Is this a boss? It's a mini boss? Bro, I'm just trying to get this tower, bro. I do not care about none of that you're trying to have me do right now. There's a shrine nearby? Okay. Oh, Amber. Oh, I probably shouldn't be using my super good, like, what's the name for it? Let me switch. Like, something else. I might as well get rid of these. Stone talus are great. They give you a bunch of valuable ore if you defeat it. Okay. I wonder what they take to defeat it, though. They probably could one-shot me, I feel. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Just climbing up a big rock. All right. Where are we going now? You have to hit on its head to deal the most damage. Oh wow. I'm actually curious how I would even get that. How would I even do that? I mean, where we are, I wonder. Can you use the Sionis rune when it's raining? By the way, or do I have to I only can use it when I'm over like water? Because I definitely have some ideas of how I can cook up some things, but you know, I would have to test that out. All right, well, let me get back to it. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let me get back to it. You can only use it on water, including waterfalls. Okay, so when it's raining, doesn't count as water, even though it's water. All right. There's a shrine nearby. Oh, is those little stonettes? Rain doesn't make a difference. Fuck. Okay. Oh gosh. All right, let me think this out for a second. Where? Hold up. So you could climb a waterfall if you wanted? Huh. Interesting. All right, this is where I died. This is where I am. Kakariko Village is up there. So I'm definitely still headed in that direction. But I was trying to get this tower before I get there. All right. I have to climb higher. Excuse me. I don't think that I have enough stamina for this, honestly. I just don't think. I don't even see any inclines. I don't see any inclines here for me to use. Am I gonna die if I can't make it up there? I don't have any. Oh wait, I did not mean to do that. I did not mean to do that at all. Oh shit. And I don't have any stamina hearts. I don't have any stamina fruits either. All right. All right. Vertical surfaces become slick when it rains. Oh shit. Yeah, on top of that too. Oh wait, a waterfall. Okay. So. Oh okay. I could climb it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh my. What is hitting me with it? I mean, part of me wants to go deal with that. Maybe try using the, yeah. I will. Part of me wants to go deal with that enemy, but like it's low key pissing me off. Oh my gosh. Holy sh! Hold up. Do I have bows? First, let me eat something. First of all, let me eat something. I have two. Let me equip this one, and let me try to kill it. I cannot see anything. Okay. Did I miss? I can't fucking see. Oh, okay. Whatever. No! Did it? Okay. Oh my god. This enemy is so no! Oh, brother. And it just keeps hitting me. Shooter with one arrow gets one shot. I don't have any more arrows. That was the last arrow I had, but I have an idea though. Wait, where is it? I have an idea. That thing is a crazy ass shot. That's actually insane. Hold up. I'm actually gonna die. Bitch. All right. I recommend coming back here after completing one of the main dungeons. All right. I understand. But I'm already here. I need to get this tower. I just need to get this tower, please. Oh my god. I'm glad you stay here for a little bit. Just trying to climb up this here waterfall because there is either a shrine or there is a tower up here that can help me expand the map a little more, and I'm just trying to get that before I keep going to the village. I'm so glad you told me about this, by the way. I'm so glad. I would have definitely tried not like been trying to figure out how to get up here the best way, and let me save it because if I fall, I'm definitely just gonna reload my save. Oh, is that a chest? What is that? What is this? I'm gonna put it down. Man, I feel like that'll probably be relevant later. Funny enough, Cryonis is one of the most useless abilities that have most useless abilities unless you have no stamina. Hey, listen. Well, I'm glad it came in clutch here. That's a long way down. Okay, I almost fell off. I almost fumbled that. Not gonna lie. All right. Oh no, the wizards. Oh gosh, I don't want to die. All right. Where's where I'm going? Maybe the tower's over here. All right, let's put a cry on this here. All right. Is that the tower down there? Oh, it is a tower. But I was going for a shrine. There's a shrine over here as well. Now, I do need to get more stamina. Maybe say before you continue. Oh boy, I don't like the way you said that. I don't like the way you said that, man. I don't like the way you said that. Why do you say that? What's gonna happen? All right, so it's the shrine is probably up here. Oh, you can't use cry on this there. Yeah. I should have enough stamina for this. This should be fine. Oh man. So for people that play Breath of the Wild, right? How do you feel about? I just meant so you have to climb the waterfall again. Oh, okay, gotcha. People that play Breath of the Wild, how do you feel about, like, I guess having to grind out the shrines in order to get like more hearts and stamina and stuff? I mean, I guess they're pretty decently spaced out, but how does it make you feel about having to do that? What is this? Mighty Thistle. This medicinal plant is known for its sharp thorns that in the fruit it bears. The fruit contains a powerful compound that increases attack. Oh, cool. Oh, okay. Well, let me grab these. Oh. Where's the shrine? Where's the shrine? My last playthrough, I only did 4 on the Great. I only did the 4 on the Great Plateau and beat the game. Damn. What? I can't even fathom what you only did the tutorial, and then you just beat the game. Damn. Like you just went straight to fight Ganon. That's ballsy. Where's the shrine at, man? I came all the way up here. I don't even see the shrine. Also, that big menacing horse man looks very scary. I'd rather. I'm pretty sure he'll one-shot me. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll one-shot me. I'm not even gonna fight him. Where's the tower? Oh no, the shrine is this way. Is it up there? Is it in there? Is there anything in there? I did the oh you did the, oh okay so you beat the Great Plateau and then you did the 4 divine beasts and then you beat Ganon. That is a big menacing horseman. It's very scary if you're willing to fight. If you keep your distance, he shouldn't bother you unless you wait too long. All right. Yeah, he looks scary. I don't think I'm gonna fight him just yet. I don't have any armor that's actually worth a damn. So, no, these fucking things are fucking pissing me off. What? No. Oh. Their body is still active after they die? Oh, brother. How? How? I killed it. The Lionel, the big horse guy, is the most intelligent enemy in the game by a lot. Do pray tell, what does that? So it's intelligent. So what does that mean for Link? Like, what the hell? All right, let me just go to Kakariko Village. Fuck this. That shrine is gonna be there. Is that a shrine up there? Or is that a volcano? I'm not going all the way up there. I don't have time for that right now. I think where is the tower anyways? I just seen it the other time. The Lionel. That's an interesting name. I mean, I guess it does look like a lion horseman. So I guess Lionel is a very, you know, it's not a bad name. Just me and my paraglider against the world. All right, Kakariko Village is up there. All right, the Lionel won't attack you unless you draw a weapon, but even it'll just draw his weapon and wait. It'll do a battle cry before attacking. If you use a bow, it'll also use a bow. It can teleport? Why? Why is that something that it can do? I don't know why, but it can. Bro, what the fuck? That makes entirely no sense. Can I get struck by lightning? Oh, the tower's right there. If I remember correctly, I believe in Genshin Impact you can get struck by lightning if it's raining. Can I kill you for meat? Where's my soul? It only teleports. Wait, I need your meat. No. Stop dodging me. All right. Raw prime meat. Yummy, yummy. Wait, no, my meat. My meat. Raw gourmet meat. Oh, okay. It only teleports if you lure it too far away from its fighting area. That's I can see why it's the smartest. That's interesting. All right, okay, the tower's right there. All right. I mean, these are ores. I should probably get these, right? I can spend rubies on them. Luminous stone. This mineral gives off the pale blue glow. Okay. Wow, okay. Can I use bombs for this? Why am I being a caveman? I'm like, that shit made no sense. Oh, this looks like it could be rare. Oh, topaz, okay. Sapphire? Sapphire, yep. And rubies. Let's go. I was gonna say you could use bombs. Yeah. I don't know why the fuck I don't even know why the fuck I was ever using my sword. That shit made no sense. It made no sense at all. I guess I was already thinking it was like Genshin Impact. You ain't got bombs in that. You gotta use your sword. You know, you use your Geo users or your Claymore users. Ah, fuck, these little fuckers are here. Oh, they're already on their bullshit. All right. Oh shit, there's a wizard guy. All right, I definitely don't want to fuck with that wizard guy, but I definitely need to get up this tower. So I'm just gonna run right past him. Oh, he's doing the One Piece skywalk. Yo, that's fire. Okay. That was the slowest. That was the slowest as little ball of lightning that I ever seen, and it still killed me. It was very slow, and I was about to press triangle to jump, and I just couldn't do it. But I did save it right beforehand, so you're not gonna be now, fucker. This tower sucks to get. Yeah, I can definitely see how. What the f? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna cut my losses because I do not have enough stamina to get that. All right, so that's unfortunate. What the hell? All right, Kakariko Village. Here we go. Kakariko Village is right here. So, can I put on a what's the name? If it's not one of the hardest to get, okay. There is a path around the outside that allows you to get up. Oh, is there? Huh. There's a path around the outside that allows you to get up. Okay, so let's. All right, fuck it. If that's the, what the fuck? Okay, let's load our file. Is this where it was? Yeah. There's a path around. Okay. All right. I'm gonna give it a shot real quick. I'm gonna give it a shot. If it doesn't work out, then I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna say fuck it and just go. If you want to get it, reload a save to get up easily. Oh, wait. You can stamina scum. So if I save it while I'm on the thing, and then I can just keep on going up. That's fire. I think I'm gonna do that. Baron Tower. I meant so you wouldn't have to climb up in the rain again. Oh. Oh. Oh, I see. I see. All right. Damn. And here I thought I was being big brain. Might eat this. So I just know I got that already, but I guess I didn't. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna climb this up. Oh shit. Yo, I mean it's very realistic. Unless I'm wrong, I could have sworn there were lower platforms. I mean it's fine because I have an idea how I'm gonna get up there. Well, let's stop the raining. So I'm just go up here, right? Go up here. Save it. Just in case I get hit with some stray bullets or something. You know, something crazy. And then from there, I'm going to go over here and then climb up the what's the name, the wall. Climb up. Right, and then climb up the wall. I'm probably gonna fall here. Yeah, I'm probably gonna fall here. Except I found a crevice. Let's go. All right. Okay. All right. So I got that up there. Right. So now I'm gonna climb up here. Jumping usually uses more stamina than climbing normally. Yeah. That is true. That is something I have noticed. But in doing that, now I can go over here, grab more of these, Mighty thistles. Oh, there's enemies there. Okay. Let's save it because I'm pretty sure those guys will one-shot me too. No, no. There we go. So now we can finally go up to the tower and then get this area seen. You know what would be nice? You know what would be nice is if it kind of worked like Genshin, that like if you reached one of the goddess statues, which is kind of like these towers here, and you revealed the map, then it showed you all the other dungeons on the thing. Finally, the tower will be unlocked. Yes, like, yeah, I'm sorry that took so long, but I'm glad we were finally able to do it. I'm glad we were finally able to get this done. All right, good. That is great. It's fantastic. Even that's wonderful. So now, let me just see. Let me see. Let me see. I'm gonna go there and then do that, and then do this thing, and then minimize that. All right, scanning area. Did I not just do this already? All right, there we go. Wow, well, I unlocked the big area. Oh, okay, I didn't. All right, regional map extracted. It'd be nice if they revealed to me where the shrines were. Once I got a tower. All right. Okay. So that's done. Now let's go to Kakariko. Let's go to Kakariko. Kakariko is still up there, so that would be mean I need to turn into this direction. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, not these guys. Oh my gosh. Let's save it. What is ability controls? Oh no, that's just ability. Okay. No, get off of that. All right. Can I get higher? Yeah. And then I go. That seems like it might be enough. There's nothing higher than this. All right. So now once we get up there, we can finally continue going on. I think I saw a shrine, but at this point, I'm just gonna go straight to Kakariko because, you know, there'll be many more shrines along the way onto the first divine beast. You know, I never even noticed that temperature sensor right there. But that's actually pretty cool though. It tells me like if the place I'm going to is too cold or too hot. All right. Yes, Kakariko. All right. Oh, that's not even a shrine. That's a damn volcano. Okay. Kakariko is still in that direction. Ain't get me, fucko. Yeah, go ahead, fall down. And get me, dickhead. Oh, this moonlight is gorgeous. Look at this. I can't imagine what this looks like on the Switch too. I would love one day to get a Breath of the Wild Definitive Edition that just remasters all the graphics. Like, I mean, it doesn't have to lose its cell shading, but just like really remasters all the graphics. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. I guess for now I just have to settle with upscale textures or something if I emulate it or something. I don't have any more food, right? No, I do. Those are what's names. It would be cool, but the Switch 2 is just higher resolution and 60 FPS, which is really nice. I agree. No, I agree. I'm definitely not sleeping on that. Oh shit. I do not want to get one shot by a what's name. Please. I see a guardian over there. I low-key kind of want to test my luck. But I don't want dealing with two guardians. I don't think I want to do that. Is that a shrine at the top? Is that a shrine? But there's two guardians there. No, actually, no. It's not a shrine because the shrine thing will be blinging. I mean, I guess I'm going in the right direction. It is kind of funny how they decided to give him stamina. You know, I mean, I know they started this back in. Oh, it's a pinwheel. Oh, what the hell? Oh no, these must be for using with bows. I don't have any, unfortunately. Kakariko is that way. I don't see any shrines. There's no shrines over here that I'm close to. All right, here we go. Here we go, y'all. Yeah, you need a bow, yeah. I need some arrows. I got a few bows. I need arrows. Oh, there is a shrine there. It's right there. Let's go. Why is my shrine thing not oh yeah. Oh yeah, there's a shrine nearby. I can see it, motherfucker. I'm sorry if I missed some stuff. I'm trying to edit a video. Oh, okay. Oh wait, am I gonna drown? Yeah, I am. I should have known. Fuck. Okay. What if you don't mind me asking, what kind of video are you editing? A Breath of the Wild video, actually. Oh, okay, cool. Okay. Oh, you doing like you doing a challenge run? Oh, okay, that's cool. What kind of challenge are you doing? Hi, Damar, Sean. Okay, let's go. There we go. We're close by Kakariko Village, so we can finally move on. The water guides. Oh, I know what this means. I already did the main story. Now I'm doing a DLC. I was seeing if I could beat the game without being seen by any enemies, not including bosses. Oh, that's cool. I definitely gotta watch that. I think you said this part 2. I gotta watch part 1. That's cool. Oh, okay. It's also the playthrough. That's the playthrough. I only did the 4 Great Plateau Shrines. I mean that makes sense. You know, you could the less enemies you have to see makes more sense. Part 2 should be coming out next week. Currently implementing the script. Okay, okay. What do you use to edit your videos? Oh, okay, cool. Will that work? No. A little bit lower. Oh, I'm getting a call. Give me 1 second, y'all. 1 second. You gotta love telemarketers, y'all. You gotta love telemarketers. All right, let's continue. All right. Will that work? Oh. Okay, so now I got a shot at that one. That should work. Oh, okay. So, oh wait, I gotta put under. And then I gotta put another one there. Easy money. Easy money. DaVinci Resolve. Hey, I also use DaVinci Resolve. That's what's up. It's lit. Let's go. All right. That shrine wasn't too bad. Now I have 2 of those. Okay, great. $144. We got some time. All right, so we're heading to Kakariko Village now. Let's keep going. Oh, it's another stable. Let's go. Yes, Steve. What do you mean? I'm at a stable. Oh, all right. Maybe I have to just go. I just go talk to him.
Hi.
All right. How did they teleport Steve here, by the way? All right. Come on, Steve. Let's go.
Ah. Hey.
Steve, my goat. How can I put the armor on Steve? Oh, okay. I guess it just automatically goes on them, I guess. Magic? Oh, okay. All right. So Let's see. Kakariko is that way. You need to talk to a certain lady at a certain stable? Oh, okay. I see. A certain lady at a certain stable. Okay. I can't even read that. What does that say? Okay, this bridge is very much intact. Great. I'm damn near there, but I guess. Oh wait. Doesn't Lee get a motorcycle? Where's my motorcycle at, man? Wasn't that a part of the DLC? I heard. There's a lady that will be tending to the horses. If you talk to her, she was at the stable with the mini game with the dinky music. Then she could put it on your horse. Oh, okay. All right, y'all. We're finally getting the Kakariko. You just gotta unlock it. Okay. I see. The motorcycle. I see. Finally to talk to Impa, y'all. There's another shrine nearby? Is it up there? Oh, in there. The shrine must be up here. Damn. I was so close too. I probably shouldn't have jumped. Maybe I can go up here and then do it. You can only lock the motorcycle after completing the 4 divine beasts, the 4 divine beast trial, and the 5th secret dungeon and boss fight. It takes a lot. What the fuck is the point of it? I mean, I guess it's DLC, so I guess it's new. I guess it shouldn't affect the main game. But damn, that's so much to unlock the motorcycle. Golly, it's like no point to even get that shit. The shrine is up there, but there's a simple path to get there if you go inside the village first. Well, listen, if you don't know me, you know what I'm saying, I like making it hard for myself sometimes. But I definitely will go into the village for sure. All right. That should be enough to jump up there. All right. There's a shrine there. But is that the shrine that they were talking about? Yeah, it actually is. Oh. I see what you mean by saying there's a simple path. I see. I can just fucking walk up there. I see. All right. All right, let me go to that shrine and then I'll talk. Actually, let me go talk to Impa, then we'll talk to the shrine, do the shrine shit. All right, where my Impa be? Hey, what are you doing? Like I said, there was an easier way. No, thank you. I appreciate it. These plum trees, I've been raising them my whole life. They're grown as I grown. They're a part of me. I'm sorry. Well, then when these trees eventually rot and fall away, so will I. That's why I'm painstakingly raising them with all the love I can muster. So as long as I'm around, there's no way I'll let you mess my plum garden. Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I imagine Impa's gotta be over here. Oh, chill out, bro, chill out. You there, who are you? How dare you trespass upon Lady Impa's abode? Is that a Sheikah slate? But that would mean you are. No, it's not possible. Can it be? Please forgive us for behaving so rudely. Of course, we've heard the legends from Lady Impa herself. Please, friend, go ahead and step aside. Step inside. Oh, shorty bad. Paya? A man? Huh? Is that? It's a Sheikah slate. Could you be the one hero who my grandmother told me about? What's his name? Lin, oh, it's not that I forgot. I'm just bad with speaking. As for me, my name is Oh, my name is Paya. Or Paya? I don't know. Whew, I got it out. Listen, hey, listen, as someone who else has a hard time speaking, I totally understand. I get it. Sometimes I just get to stuttering and I can't even stop. And it's not even conscious, I just start doing it. Wait till you find out why Paya is named Paya. Okay. I'm so sorry. Anyway, my grandmother's been waiting for you to return ever since I was little. Damn. Please hurry inside. All right, you got it.
So, you're finally awake.
Damn, she old. Golly.
It has been quite a long time, Link.
It has.
I am much older now, but you remember me, don't you?
No. Oh, we're going to flashback.
Huh?
What is the matter? You're looking like me though. You're looking at me as though I'm a stranger to you. Those eyes, they lack the eye of familiarity. Want me to spoil why her name is Paya? I mean, yeah, go ahead. I'm probably, yeah, go ahead. It is I, courageous one, Impa. Surely you must at least remember the name Impa.
Oh.
I see, so you've lost your memory.
Oh.
It's not story related or anything. Okay, yeah, sure, go for it. Yeah, let me know. Well, it matters not. In fact, it may actually be a blessing in disguise for the time being. Dearest Link, please come a bit closer. Let me get a good look at your boy. 100 years ago.
Oh.
Yes, 100 years ago, the kingdom of Hyrule was destroyed. After you fell, Princess Zelda's final wish was to place you in a sacred slumber. And then, all alone, she went to face Ganon. Before Princess Zelda went to nobly meet her fate, she entrusted me with some words she wished to say to you. I've been waiting 100 years to deliver this princess's message.
Oh.
However, these words, which the princess risked her life to leave you, well, if you are to hear them, you must be prepared to risk your life as well. But I'm afraid that burden may be too much for you to bear while you're still without your memories. I'll leave the choice to you. When you are ready to receive the princess's message, return to me. Okay, so her name is Paya due to the birthmark on her left booty cheek. That's it? What? What? Does Paya mean something in another language or something? What the fuck? How do we even know that how do we even know that there is a birthmark on her left ass cheek? How do we know that?
Yeah.
All right. The words that the princess risked her life to impart to you, I cannot pass them on to someone who lacks conviction. Are you prepared to risk your life for the greater good? I don't know, man. I mean, Zelda's crazy, but I don't know, man. That's the reason her name is Paya, because of the shape of her birthmark. Wow. Impa talks about it at one point. Wow. Riveting. Okay. She actually just like me for real. All right, I am. Ha! Not a memory to your name, yet you are as intent to ever charge forward. Paya is a fruit, though. Oh yeah, like papaya. Yeah. Oh wait a second. Is her name Paya as in papaya because papaya sounds like if you were stuttering? Like, you know, like papaya, like it sounds like if you were stuttering. You have not changed once a bit. You're not changed a bit. Once a hero, always a hero.
Oh.
Very well. Since you have lost your memory, I will recount for you all that has happened. That could be the case. It could be. A long time ago.
History of
Oh,
the royal
okay, this voice
family
acting.
of
Excuse me.
Hyrule
I just know
is
the birthmark
also
part.
the
Okay, got it.
history of Calamity Ganon, a primal evil that has endured over the ages. This evil has been turned back time and time again by a warrior wielding the soul of a hero and a princess who carries the blood of the goddess. With the passage of time, each conflict with Ganon faded into legend. So listen closely as I tell you of this legend that
Oh.
occurred 10,000 years
Listen closely as I tell you of this legend of Zelda. Oh, just some old
Hyrule
humor.
was then blossoming as a highly advanced civilization.
Man, the people's ugly as fuck
The
though.
most powerful monsters posed little threat to the denizens of the realm. The people thought it wise to utilize their technological prowess to ensure the safety of the land should Calamity Ganon ever return.
They built the towers, okay.
They constructed 4 mechanical wonders that came to be known as the Divine Beasts.
Right.
They also built a legion of autonomous weapons called Guardians.
Right.
The Divine Beasts were piloted by 4 individuals of exceptional skill from across the land.
Right.
And thus, the plan to neutralize Ganon was forged.
Okay.
Upon Ganon's inevitable return to Hyrule, the princess and the hero fought.
How do you take control of the technology? I didn't know Ganon was a technomancer. Snack? BRB gotta use the bathroom and get a snack. Okay, yeah, do your thing.
Tasked with protecting the hero as the Divine Beasts unleashed a furious attack upon their terrible foe. And when the hero wielding the sword that seals the darkness delivered his final blow, the princess used her sacred power to seal away Calamity Ganon.
Okay. So where did it all go wrong? I'm old. 100 years ago, in preparation for the foretold revival of Ganon, we strove to follow the lead of our ancestors 10,000 years prior.
Oh.
But in the end, despite our best efforts and careful planning, we underestimated his power. In order to avoid making that grave mistake again, the princess left you these words.
Oh.
Free the 4 divine beasts. That is what she said. 4 divine beasts? The 4 divine, I didn't know why I said that. I should have just said understood. The 4 divine beasts are the ancient Sheikah weapons wielded by the 4 champions who Ganon defeated. The divine beast Varuda, controlled by Daruk of the Gorons. The divine beast Vamedo, controlled by Revali of the Rito. The divine beast Varuta, controlled by Mifa of the Zora. And the divine beast Vinabaris, controlled by Urbosa of the Gerudo.
Oh.
It would be extremely ill-advised to face Ganon without the power of the divine beast to help you. You must infiltrate the divine beasts that were stolen by Ganon 100 years ago and bring them back to our side. More information about the divine beast can be found locating the 4 races scattered through Hyrule. Damn.
Yeah.
The Sheikah Slate will guide you on your way. You must go to where it tells you and to meet each leader there. Free the divine beasts. Okay, sure. It seems to me your Sheikah Slate is not complete. The device Princess Zelda left you in your guide is your guide and also your memory. Now let's see. Someone at the research lab in Hateno Village might be able to help you. Hateno Village?
Oh,
The location shining on the eastern edge of you is Hateno Village. It's a small village, one of the very few places that avoided suffering significant damage during the Great Calamity. Locked mementos. You are Princess Zelda's only hope, and Hyrule's as well. You cannot turn back now. Follow your heart and seize your destiny. Seek out Impa. Complete. All right. So let me save it because that was a big lore dump. You know, second time we had that lore dump again. All right. Oh.
Hi.
I must protect the heirloom. What heirloom? All right. So there's a shrine up there. Let me go to the shrine.
Yeah.
Oh, adorable. Wait. Oh no, it's up here. For a second I was like, wait, where did the what's name go? Bruh. All right, there's another shrine here, so let's go. The Talo Naeg Shrine. All right, let's go. Let's go. Here we go. Here we go. Hello, Mario. All right. To those of you who set foot in this shrine, I am Talo Naeg. Please, okay. Oh wait, no, the teaching. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. What is it? What is about to happen? Oh, okay. Eightfold blade. Ooh, I got a samurai sword. Should I use this? Oh, there's more. Okay. Is this armor? Oh, the shield of the mind's eye. Ooh, okay. All right, so let me equip that, and then let me equip the blade. I don't have any what's names. Oh, look at that! Look at that! Let me save it. Oh no. Use a side hop to avoid enemy attacks. This will create an opening for you to strike back. Target enemy, strafe, and then jump. Do a backflip to avoid enemy attacks and create an opening to strike back. Okay. Target enemy, backpedal, and then jump. Okay. You can repel an attack if you parry with your shield at the right time. Strike back in the opening you create. Okay. All right, so ready, shield, and then parry with circle. Okay. Bro, what? All right. Build up your power and then release it to do a charge attack. Catch your enemies in motion to damage them. Build power and then release. Okay. Guardian sword. Damn, that shit's strong as hell. You have done well. Now use these crucial skills. Now proceed. Ancient shaft. Pause. All right. I hath returned. Welcome back. I just beat the shrine. I learned about the fury strikes. I learned about parrying. I learned about side hopping and backflipping. I also got the cool shield and sword. I wish the weapons didn't break though. That's probably one of my only things about this. I mean, I know they break sometimes in other games like Minecraft, but like I do wish the weapons didn't break. I wish they were kind of like Monster Hunter where they get dull and you have to like sharpen them or something. But they don't break, I don't think. All right, so we defeated this shrine, and now we need to go to the main story courses, course 2. Don't worry, weapons get stronger and better durability later in the game. Okay, well that's good. That's good. That's good to know. Yo, did you just say Monster Hunter? I did say Monster Hunter. I did. Let's see. Where are we going now? All right, so the story, we gotta go to Hateno Village. The less locked memories. Now, I know the memories are me trying to find my memories. Are the memories like do fill in gaps for the story, but are they required for me to beat the game? I mean, I definitely would want to watch them just to have like, you know, more stuff, but I do want to beat the game, and then like I'll do post game content afterwards. Which Monster Hunter though? Not that that's important. Of the Monster Hunter I played one of the Monster Hunters on the 3DS. I played Monster Hunter World, and I've played Monster Hunter, the latest one, Wilds. I like them. I like them. My brother's beating both of them, but I'm still in the process of playing them. Let's see. Also, how'd you feel about Monster Hunter? Was it Rise? I think that one's on the Switch, and I think on PC. How did you feel about that one? That one's a little different. Memories are not required, but you don't know much of the story. I see. Yeah. I mean, yeah. No. I mean, I definitely would like to see some of the memories for sure. I just, how do I say it? I don't want to go too much out of my way for the main quest, but I do want to see, like, you know, the story of like Link and Zelda and whatever other memories from other characters. I do want to see that. It's just I you know, I'm kind of torn because I do want to. I mean, I don't want to speed run through the game, but I guess I'll see as I go along. Because I know after I beat the game, I did want to I did want to like do some like the like post game stuff and like go see any memories that I didn't see or whatever have you. Rise is the one I put the most time in. It was my first 5th gen. Didn't get to play the world yet, and it was during COVID. Oh, you definitely should play World. I think once you play World, your opinion may change of Rise. But I've heard a lot of great things about World for sure. Okay, let's go. What is this? This Dueling Peak stable. Can I fast travel there? No, you can't. Of course. Why would you be able to do that? Okay. This is locked memories. How do I zoom out? Oh, I've played World now. It's fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Which quest am I doing? Adventure log, free the divine beast, lock my memories. According to Impa, is it? This is this is the main quest. Okay, all right. All right, so you know what? I might as well just go to do this. Let's go do this. You can fast travel the shrine only to try the towers. Okay. All right. Well, let's go to this. Let's go to this shrine, and then we'll go over to there. So if I need to come back to Kakariko Village, I have to go to the nearest shrine, which I guess is in Kakariko, and then go to the village if I need to. That's kind of crazy. Did they change that in Tears of the Kingdom, or is it the same way? I feel like main towns, like if I go to Gerudo Town or whatever have you, I shouldn't have to go to a shrine that's nearby. I feel like I should just go to Gerudo Town if I need to. But like once I visit. All right. Okay. All right. So we need to go to here. And am I going in that direction? Yes. All right. So where's Steve? And Gerudo Town. There's a shrine in Kakariko and Gerudo Town. I mean, I imagine there is shrines nearby to make it easier. I imagine there is. Is there anything I need from Beetle right now? Oh, he sells arrows? Oh, I do need arrows, actually. I do need them. 5 arrows are 30. But 1 arrow is 6. I mean, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, 5 arrows, 6 times 5 is 30. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. How many would you like to buy? Let's take them all. And then 20 times 6 is, I'll take them all. All right. So now I have arrows. I have 30. All right. All right. Let's go to where I need to go. Oh yeah. Let me grab what's the name.
Hi.
Take horse. Oh wait.
Hey.
The shrines for towns are either right outside or inside the towns themselves. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's how they ended up. That's how they ended up making it work out, so you can go fast travel to the towns. Take horse.
Oh. Oh. Hi.
Oh, okay. So they can't turn well when at top speed. If your horse can't turn sharply, you're more likely to hit obstacles. So think about that before you have your horse to sprint. That makes sense. All right. All right. So we're now going to this lock memories. We got to visit the director of the Sheikah Slate. Why did bro just fall over? Relax. You ain't never seen a horse before? You literally work at a stable, bro. Or you literally near a stable while you're working. Damn. Rip to that goose, bro. Alright. Man, we'll definitely get there in no time. I feel very American eating Coke and Doritos. Hell yeah. Wait, wait, you saying you wait? Are you saying that because you're not American and you feel American? Cause that's funny either way. All right. I am okay. Yeah, me too. All right. All right, we're close by. This bridge doesn't go anywhere. For better or worse, right? Right? Amen to that. Amen to that for sure. Let's see. Fort Hateno. Oh, okay. Maybe I should cook.
Hey.
Hi, my name is Goril. His name is Goril. Are you a cook from by any chance? That's all right. Figured as much as worth seeing. Fort Hateno is the last line of defense between Hateno Village and the awful tragedy all those years ago. Everyone's got to come and pay their respects at least once in life, right? Yeah, I get it. Let's cook some shit. All right, let's cook out some of this rhyme praw meat. Hold, and let's cook it up with some spice, and let's put some apples in there. All right, I'm about to make some slop, bro. It's about to be some bullshit. Stop holding. Add. Okay. Is it X is B? Cook. Bro, no, wait, what? Wait, my food. Okay, hold on. Did I just burn my food? Is it gone? Oh no, I cooked it. No, I can hold it. Okay. Wait, no, they're right here. All right, so now go B. Mighty Steam Meat gains a low level of tower pack boost, attack power boost. By the way, you can only get one effect from cooking, so don't combine foods with different effects when cooking. Okay, got it. All right. That's good to know. All right, so let's go back. That's where I need to go, but I need to get up there first. So maybe I need to go. Where's my horse? Okay. All right, so let's go over to this area so that we can climb up. Can I ride this? All right, no, never mind. I decided I had to wait till Tears of the Kingdom. Excuse me. All right. Can I get up here? I could probably use Cyanus. Oh fuck. Those bombs? Octo balloon. This inflatable organ has a lot of it. Attach items that you want to see float. Hold it in your hands and place it on the object to attach it. Armored carp. Calcium. Okay. It'll fortify your bones, increasing your defense. Oh, that's cool. All right. So. Octoballoons are crazy if you use them right. Okay, so it can make items float, but can it make me float? Yo, also I swear I have to try that speed run. I have to learn how to do that speed run strat that people do where they get an enemy to go near them and then they use the bullet time to go really fast off their shield and they go really far. I gotta try that sometime. Come on, bro. If you place them on a wooden plank and you stand on a wooden plank while it floats up. Oh. So you mean to me I could probably use it? I could probably use it on that shit that was in the water right there, and just flew up. How many would I need? I think I only got 2. Oh, there's another tower here. Okay. All right. Too bad Steve can't come. No, Steve's not able to come, unfortunately. Steve, buddy. Oh, excuse me. Oh. All right. I feel like a mountain goat. Oh, there's enemies there. All right, so where I'm trying to go is that way, and that is actually unironically in the same direction as where the person I need to meet is, I guess. Run by these enemies. I'm hungry, man. I need to grab me something to eat. Oh shit. Let me save it. All right. I will. I didn't realize the time. Okay. After I go ahead and Potato Tower. Huh? Oh wait. Go get some food. Okay, yeah. No, I definitely. I mean, I definitely need to eat, but I also need to. At 3 o'clock, I need to go pick up my mom from work. All right, so I mean, we did end up getting the Kakariko, and we're on our like we're really close to the second mission that we got to do, lock memories. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna end it for right now, but today's Wednesday. I either may be on later, perhaps, or I may be on tomorrow around the same time. Thursday around like that 11:30, 12 o'clock time, and then we'll continue, and then we'll try to just beeline in on the next set of missions. Well, I mean, obviously, Breath of the Wild is a long game, so we'll try to focus on the missions that we have, and then try to do any side content that comes up here and there if it's like relevant or whatever have you. But we're gonna end it here for today, because I still have to. I still got to find a way how to get rid of these vines to climb up this tower to get this, but we'll figure it out next time. But with that being said, I appreciate every single one of y'all for chilling with me, hanging out with me, and watching me play Breath of the Wild as I kind of learn to love it. And I mean, I'm already appreciating it already. But as we go on, I definitely I'm definitely appreciating it even more than I did when it came out years ago. So when we come back, we'll take care of that. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. My name is Aprilsamurai, and this is going to be Samurai Out.